Welcome to Verbs lesson number 1. Regular and irregular past tense verbs. All regular past tense verbs end in the letters ed. Look at the words listed at the bottom. Visit becomes visited, mow becomes mowed, spell becomes spelled, and move becomes moved. Even though all past tense verbs end in the letters ed, they don't all sound the same. If a verb ends in the sound k, p, s, ch, sh, f, h, or x, the ed sound is going to make a t sound instead. Look at the examples below. Walk becomes walked. Clap becomes clapped. Do you hear the T sound? I'll do a few more. Pass becomes passed. Watch becomes watched. Now let's see if you can make the past tense form of these verbs. Play. If you said played, you're correct. Let's try another one. Change. It would be changed. How about follow? Followed. Great job. Add becomes added. How about offer? Offered. Good job. Wait. Waited, you're right. Stay becomes stayed. Open becomes opened. Great job. Remember. If you said remembered, you're right. And last one. Love becomes loved. Fantastic. Now let's pretend that today is Tuesday. I'm going to read a story about what is happening today. I turn off my alarm and climb out of bed. I dress in my school clothes and brush my hair. I pour myself a bowl of cereal and heat up some tea for breakfast. The buses stop in front of the school and let us off. I learn a lot in school. Let's take a look at this paragraph again, but this time we want to put all of the underlined verbs into the past tense. Let's start out with turn. That becomes turned. Climb becomes climbed. Dress becomes dressed. Brush becomes brushed. Pour becomes poured. Heat becomes heated. Stop becomes stopped. And learn becomes learned. Now let's read our new sentence as if we're talking about yesterday. I turned off my alarm and climbed out of bed. I dressed in my school clothes and brushed my hair. I poured myself a bowl of cereal and heated up some tea for breakfast. The buses stopped in front of the school and let us off. I learned a lot in school. Regular past tense verbs are pretty easy. So let's talk about irregular past tense verbs now. Irregular past tense verbs tend not to follow rules or patterns, but there are a few. For instance, some verbs don't change from the present tense to the past tense. They just stay the same. Here are some examples. Bet, hurt, quit, cut, hit, and spread. Let me put it in a sentence to help you better. Today, I hurt my leg. Yesterday, I hurt my leg. See how it stays the same? Here are some irregular past tense verbs that change the vowel sound. At the top, they change it from I to eh, like from bleed to bled. I just want to point out the verb read, which changes to read, but the spelling does not change. So the only way you know how to pronounce the word is to read the whole sentence and decide which one you need to say. At the bottom, they also change the vowel sound from I to eh, but it adds a t sound at the end, like from keep to kept. The vowels in these verbs change from I to like from dig to dug, or spin to spun. At the bottom, the vowel changes from I to a, like begin to began, and swim to swam. So we are still looking at past tense verbs that change their vowel. Here are some that change the vowel sound from I to ow. Bind becomes bound. Find becomes found. Wind becomes wound. And grind becomes ground. At the bottom, you can see some irregular past tense verb that change the vowel sound, but there's no rule across all of them. Come becomes came. Hang becomes hung. Hold becomes held. Sell becomes sold. Sit becomes sat. And slide changes to slid. These irregular past tense verbs change their vowel sound, but they also change the consonant sounds. Here are some examples. Bring is changed to brought. Buy is changed to bought. Catch becomes caught. Seek becomes sought. Teach changes to taught. Fight changes to fought. And think becomes thought. These verbs changed their final D sound to a T sound. Here are some examples. Build becomes built. Send becomes sent. Bend becomes bent. These next verbs don't follow any rules at all. I'm not going to go through all of them, just some ones that are used quite often. Know becomes knew. Have becomes had. Drive becomes drove. And at the bottom in orange are the most important ones. The verb to be. If we say I am or he, she is, am and is becomes was. If we're saying they are or we are becomes were. Try to remember those. We use them a lot in the English language. Let's see how many irregular past tense verbs you know. I'll say the present tense verb, and then you tell me the past tense verb. Let's start with throw. It becomes threw. Did you get that one right? Next is take. That's right. The next word is write. It becomes wrote. How about think? Thought. Very good. The next one is swim. Swam. How about buy? That becomes bought. See becomes saw. Sell becomes sold. Send becomes sent. And last one, feel becomes felt. How did you do? Just like we did before, we're going to look at a paragraph about today. I go into the living room where I hear a funny noise. I think it comes from behind the couch. The noise gets louder, but I can't see anything. I sneak over to the wall and find a monkey. I put him in a cage and drive to the zoo. They give me a reward for their lost monkey. Now let's take this sentence and make it into the past tense. I have underlined all of the verbs in the sentence. Let's go through one by one and change it to an irregular past tense verb, starting with go. Changes to went. Hear changes to heard. Think changes to thought. Comes changes to came. Get changes to got. Can't changes to couldn't. Sneak changes to snuck. And find changes to found. Don't let this next one trick you. Put does not change at all. Drive becomes drove. Give becomes gave. Great job. Now I'm going to read the sentence through in the past tense. I went into the living room where I heard a funny noise. I thought it came from behind the couch. The noise got louder, but I couldn't see anything. I snuck over to the wall and found a monkey. I put him in a cage and drove to the zoo. They gave me a reward for their lost monkey. Great job. Past tense verbs can be very tricky, and the irregular past tense verbs can only be learned through memorization, so keep practicing.